There are three self-evident pillars to America's global position of power. One, world-leading military might. Second, unparalleled soft power and influence across the world. And three, a dominant role in the world economy which embraces the power of American businesses. Can we create a three-pronged approach that is uniquely Indian and will earn us Antarashtriya Samman or international respect? A Vikasit Bharat founded on Atmanirbharta is central to the Prime Minister's vision of a successful and prosperous India on the global stage. Today, there is a huge opportunity for an Indian version of a military-industrial partnership to emerge. The goal of achieving international respect also resonates today, because obtaining a seat at the global high table for India is a major priority for the Prime Minister and the Ministry of External Affairs as well. And if that is correct, then I think that gives me a very powerful cue to embark on the theme of my address this evening, which is that business and commerce can make a vital contribution towards our aspiration of earning international respect. So what is it? What is that thing or those things that create global influence, or Antarashtriya Samman? Now, there's reams of scholarly literature on the subject, but Secretary Quatra again told me that the last thing they were expecting from me was an academic dissertation. So please do not expect quotes from Max Weber or Hegel from me today. And I'm going to take a far more practical approach. Let me look at the country which, for better or worse, is regarded as the most powerful and influential nation in the world today, the United States of America. And I believe there are three self-evident pillars to America's global position of power. One, world-leading military might. Second, unparalleled soft power and influence across the world. And three, a dominant role in the world economy which embraces the power of American businesses. So I ask, could this inspire a template for our own journey? Can we create a three-pronged approach that is uniquely Indian and will earn us Antarashtriya Samman or international respect? Now, from his actions, it's clear that Prime Minister Modi has understood the importance of all three prongs, and he's working feverishly on all fronts. A Vikasit Bharat founded on Atmanirbharta is central to the Prime Minister's vision of a successful and prosperous India on the global stage. It's the key to ensuring that we as a nation get what Vajpayee called Antarashtriya Samman. And it is the need of the hour given current global uncertainties, as Ashok outlined. At an event last week, Prime Minister Modi recalled his vision for a developed India. And he said, I quote, "The decade that we are in now is the most important decade of independent India so far. And this is the right time to strengthen the foundation of an efficient, capable and developed India." So with that same spirit of urgency, let me come back to talking about those three sources of influence that I alluded to. And as a businessman, I will dwell largely, of course, on the third prong, the economic power. But I do want to spend a bit of time emphasizing something that I think we do not sufficiently acknowledge today. That without industry as an actor, the first two prongs, military and soft power, would only be pale shadows of themselves. And let's take military power to begin with. The development of the military-industrial complex in America was the pivotal factor in building the might of its armed forces. And of course, there was substantial government funding and spending on military research for sparking innovation. But it was the formidable manufacturing capabilities of large American corporations like Lockheed, Northrop, and General Dynamics that provided the muscle and sinews of American military power. And I say that today there is a huge opportunity for an Indian version of a military-industrial partnership to emerge. We welcome the lists of defense hardware that have been put out by the Defense Ministry and which ensure that certain products can only be sourced from Indian suppliers, a step that speaks of confidence in Indian industry, and that's a promise we will fulfill. And the very nature of warfare, as we all know, is changing dramatically, with mosquito-like drones taking out elephantine tanks. And with this emphasis on cutting-edge technology, I hope to see a flood of innovation in the next few years, particularly from the IT sector. Innovative Indian companies are going to have a vital role to play. And India has one historical advantage that attracts companies like mine. It makes me very proud that in spite of having the fourth largest military budget in the world, independent India has never fought a major war of aggression. Even in international conflicts, we've always been part of the UN peacekeeping forces. And that tradition of using military might only for defense and deterrence, that's what earns us the moral high ground. That's the moral high ground combined with military strength which earns us respect and which will continue to do so. Now, what about the role of business in soft power? And if we look at the American playbook again, their soft power dominates the world's mind space. Hollywood sells the American dream to the entire world. Gigantic corporations purvey American music to every corner of the globe. And of course, international students still flock to American universities. And interestingly, all these manifestations of soft power are privately funded. And yet they have a disproportionate impact on America's prestige. Indian music has influenced world music from jazz to the Beatles. And going out for Indian is now a weekly mealtime call for many around the world. RRR, as we all know, was able to get the world dancing to its tune. But I think we need to imagine things on a much larger scale. I mean, just look at the K wave that is sweeping the world. That small nation of South Korea has had an outsized impact on the world. And maybe we need to change gears to create our own I wave. The superheroes of our epic and folk tales are more than a match for the Marvel Universe. But even superheroes need help. We need larger scale corporations in media which can digest the upfront financial risk required to turn this heritage into new IP and content. And very frankly, Reliance's recent acquisition of Disney India is a welcome step in that direction. On the education front, alumni of Indian universities are running huge global corporations. And yet our universities struggle when it comes to global rankings. And that's another area of opportunity for private players. Because we have top-class technical education institutions, and under Prime Minister Modi, the proliferation of new IITs, IIMs, and AIMS has been mind-boggling. But if innovation is to flourish, we need the private sector to chip in and double or even triple that number. Private universities such as the Azim Premji University or Shiv Nadar University are stepping in. And I would like to say that our own Mahindra University has been set up with the dream that India's private universities would someday rival the best in the world, not just in the sciences, but in the arts as well. Autonomous institutions endowed, nurtured, and supported by the wealth of Indian corporations could make India a driving force of soft power. So in short, just as in America, private enterprise and soft power are made for each other. And now down to business. The third prong. Let's talk about economic power and influence. How does business emulate the prowess and the scale and global dominance of American companies? And as I said, it's ironic that some of the most notable American transnationals and new age businesses are headed by CEOs of Indian origin. Satya Nadella, Revati Advaiti, Sundar Pichai, and the list goes on and on. But they are enabling the continuing dominance of US businesses, not the creation of Indian ones. And in order to gain global influence, very large Indian corporations or very innovative Indian corporations must find a seat at the high table. As Ashok referred to it, in 2023, I was fortunate enough to be invited to a meeting at the White House called the Tech Handshake, presided over by Prime Minister Modi and President Biden. Who were the people that President Biden seated, quite literally, at that high table? Tim Cook, Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, Sam Altman. And the projection of economic power was unmistakable. And what power was he projecting? It was not just the power of scale, also the power of innovation and disruption. Nobody knew Sam Altman till a few months before that meeting. Today, both of these are symbols of economic might. And there's a story about how once President Nixon jokingly offered a world leader any of his generals in exchange for one of their star generals. And in response, that head of state said, "I would like General Electric, General Dynamics, and General Motors." Now, this story itself may be apocryphal, but it underlines the fact that the success of business domestically and globally contributes to the respect, the Antarashtriya Saman with which a country is viewed.